Check, check.
I've got mine up too. Maybe it's not a fire. Nice spot over there. Just trying to roll over. Tape.
Excellent. Just for fun, can you hear my voice? Hello, how are you? Don't need to do anything else. Can you hear me all right? Is that okay? Is that level all right? I know you'll be taking Reggie's, but just in case.
Go, man.
Mighty. Where's Reggie? One, you said? Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thanks for the mic check, Eric.
My pleasure.
Hey, can you have some shot of it? Continue shot, Sadie.
It's like a hack.
Kind of something.
That's true. Fair, lots of things.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You guys hear me? Mic check. Mic check. Hello. Hi. Does that sound okay?
So those facilities
I can hear you, but the mic is here. Do you have us? They said they're 2 minutes away. I'll text you, but my mic will be up here, and if you want anything after, I'll have to grab the mic and then step to the side.
Where do I want to sit?
Yes.
I'm gonna give you the other mic.
Oh. So we'll be okay. Well, never mind. He said he's gonna give me another mic. So I will be mic'd up as well. But it'll still take us a minute to just kind of step out of the way.
Yeah, like yeah.
Oh. You have a sticker.
Yeah.
Okay, Eric, what live view do you have?
They know.
Okay, Eric is also here. He has live view. They're coming out. I have to step away. Text me for anything else. Okay, thank you.
Chief, we can have you step closer to the mic, please. Thank you. Are we ready?
Everybody ready? Good? All right.
Good morning. My name is Frank McKinley, Fire Chief of the Cincinnati Fire Department. This morning at approximately 03:30, we were dispatched to a fire down here at Sawyer Point at Thousand Hands Playground. We had several units dispatched. We had 3 fire engines, a fire truck, a district chief, and a heavy rescue. And we're glad to report that there were no injuries from this fire. Assistant Chief Matthew Flagler assumed command very early in this fire. We'll talk about the specifics surrounding what occurred.
Good morning. My name is Matt Flagler, Assistant Fire Chief, Cincinnati Fire Department. Like the Chief said, at 03:30 we started receiving calls for a fire. We had some conflicting reports that there was a vehicle fire on top of the bridge and a fire below the bridge. The fire was below the bridge in the Thousand Hands Playground, as Chief stated. The heat from that fire actually extended up and caused a fire on the bridge itself and in some of the structure around the bridge, which the Department of Transportation will discuss in detail. The fire was extinguished by our firefighters. We had about 60 firefighters on scene, and we are glad to report currently there are no injuries. The cause of the fire remains under investigation. There was a lot of damage to the playground structure and to that area, so it takes us a while to go through the fire debris to determine a cause, but our fire investigators are on scene and they're being supported by Cincinnati Police and some of our federal partners as well to make sure that we have a good cause and origin of that fire, but there's no known cause. We're happy to report that there was no vehicles that were impacted on the bridge or damaged. There was no hazardous materials that we know of that were released in any way. We've been working with the Metropolitan Sewer District to confirm that the sewer system is safe. There was no impacts to any of that infrastructure. Duke Energy has been on the scene with us and made sure that the utilities in the area are secured. We have had no loss of utilities or power in the area from the fire. I'm going to turn it over now to the Ohio Department of Transportation.
Just real quick,
I'll get back to you. Okay.
All right, good morning, everybody. Matt Bruning. I'm the press secretary for the Ohio Department of Transportation. We don't have a lot of details yet. We still have inspectors that have been here on the scene for a couple of hours, but we're still trying to get access up into the close area of the bridge, maybe up on top as well to get a good detailed look. As of right now, the goal is to get the northbound side inspected first. We think there's less damage there, so we're going to try to get that inspected first. The southbound side is going to remain closed until further notice, though. We have some significant damage on the Ohio approach to the bridge. At least 3 beams will need to be replaced on that portion of the structure. That will also necessitate the replacement of a portion of the bridge deck. And there's also a sign truss up there that was damaged in the fire, so that will need to be removed and replaced. That is as much as I have right now. Again, we hope to have more details once we get inspectors up there that can get a good close look at the bridge. But as of right now, we have not been able to do that. To talk a little bit about the Ohio detours that we have, I'm going to bring my colleague Kathleen Fuller. She's our District 8 Public Information Officer.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm Kathleen Fuller with ODOT District 8. And regarding the maintenance of traffic plan for southbound motorists traveling to I-471, obviously it is closed beginning at, we're going to be detouring basically over I-71 and 75 southbound. But the access points from Liberty Way, 5th Street, also 50 East and 50 West have all been closed, so there will be no access to I-471 South out of downtown Cincinnati. And also, we are right here at the bridge at the approach. Pete Rose Way is also closed at the approach, so motorists will be needing to use Eggleston. And if you're traveling from the other side of the bridge, you will need to, on Riverside Drive, you will want to divert by way of Columbia Parkway. So motorists will probably want to try and get over to Columbia Parkway out at Delta Avenue. That'll be the best access point for them to, if you're on Riverside or US 52, the best access point will be to get over to Columbia Parkway at Delta. So again, Pete Rose Way and Riverside Drive, it is closed in both directions under the bridge. And we just want to remind motorists to please, be mindful of this and to plan ahead, plan your travel day accordingly and allow extra travel time. And you can, of course, visit us at ogo.com for updates on those detours. And now I'd like to turn it over to Corey Wilson with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet to talk about the northbound closures.
Thank you. I'm Corey Wilson with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. Our detour in Kentucky is pretty simple. Our immediate response was to shut down I-471 northbound starting at 275. So I-71 northbound, including all on-ramps in Kentucky, is closed currently. And we'll continue to evaluate that as this develops. But that's the situation right now. We would encourage everybody to use I-71, I-75, or 275 to get around as a detour, or any one of our other river crossings. But also we're continuing to develop our communications plan and making sure that we're communicating that detour to the public and helping them have the latest updates about the closure and what's going on so that they can plan the route accordingly.
At this time, we'll take any questions that you might have.
Any initial?
Okay. Hold on. Let's start right here.
Some of the beams seem to be sagging, almost as if perhaps they would be melted. Is that?
Yes. The fire was a very large fire that put out a lot of BTUs, and so because of the source, the fuel that was involved in it, it created such a large source of heat that it began to compromise some of the integrity of the structure. And so we have our partners here working with us to determine the safety issues that are concerning those.
What was that made of, that playground equipment?
There was several different materials, synthetic materials primarily, and so a lot of plastics were involved. Some wood was also involved in the structures.
Yeah, because wood itself is not hot enough to burn steel, is it?
Wood can be. It just depends on the amount of fuel source that it has.
I know
the amount of wood.
I know you said the cause is under investigation. Any preliminary findings that this might have been intentionally set?
Right now, we don't have any indications one way or another, and our investigators are currently working to try to determine the cause and the point of origin where the fire actually began.
Was that the playground?
It appears to be close to 40 feet. And, yes.
Okay, Matt, I got a question for you. So you said you need to replace the girders and the signs and everything. I know it's very early, but can you give us some kind of ballpark timeline of how long a project of this magnitude?
And how much it might cost?
Yeah, it's hard to give an answer on either of those right now because until we know the full scope of what we need to do. I mean, obviously to get some steel beams in here will take some time. That's something we've been working on since before daylight, trying to get an emergency contract put together, get a contractor in here so we can get that work done as quickly and safely as possible. But to give you a timeline right now, it's just impossible until we get a full inspection.
Any comparisons to the Brent Spence Bridge?
Probably. That's probably a fair comparison. Obviously the damage would be a little different from the two bridges and the amount of damage, but you're looking at a similar, repair.
So 6 weeks?
Several weeks.
Probably. I mean, I wouldn't say 6 weeks. I don't know that I can say a timeline, but it will not be. It will not be days.
Any idea, given that this is technically Kentucky's bridge, but it was on Ohio's side, how's the cost share going to work, and who's responsible for the actual project here? Because when it happened on the Brent Spence, Kentucky did it.
Sure. Well,
How's
the
this-
bridge itself is Kentucky's, but the fire was under the Ohio approach, which is ODOT's. So that's why we're doing the emergency contract on this particular project. But we are obviously working hand in glove with Kentucky.
Is it safe to say this is going to run into the millions of dollars?
I would say that's probably a good guess.
So it is possible, though, that northbound could be open while you're fixing southbound?
Yes, I think that's the intent, is to try to look at how quickly could we open northbound. As soon as it is safe to do that, certainly we will. But the damage is more significant under the southbound side than the northbound side.
Would you do two-way traffic on northbound, or would you just make it one way and just keep the other shut
That's
down?
something we'll have to assess as we go forward in the process. It depends on how long the southbound side might need to remain closed for these repairs. And a lot of other things we'd have to look at. Approaches to the bridge, how do you get traffic on and off there? There's a lot of things we need to look at before we can make that call.
How long does it take to sort that out?
It just depends again on how much damage we see up there and what we think those timelines are going to be. If it's going to take us more time to set up an MOT on like maintenance of traffic like that, than it would to repair the bridge. Obviously, that's not something we're going to do. So we're going to look at it.
Just based on appearances, if we are comparing the Brent Spence and this one, just based on the damage that you saw initially, which looked worse?
Hard to say. I wasn't down here I haven't looked personally at either one, but they both obviously are pretty significant pieces of damage to the bridge. I mean, obviously, a fire under a bridge like this is a significant concern to us, and it's going to take a little bit to get that fixed and back open.
Question for the city: how long will the park be closed, and will it be clear to be able to? I know there's significant damage over there. Was anything other than the playground damage, and do you see this ever being opened back up while construction's underway?
No. Early indications suggest that we'll possibly confine this particular area and continue access to other parts of the park. But for the time being, and especially where we're investigating, this park will be closed.
Is there any source of ignition you can determine? Is there any electricity going to that area? Is there anything that could have sparked this fire that you know of?
Well, that's still being investigated, and so electricity to the other parts of the park haven't been compromised. So we're still investigating to try to determine, the ignition source of the fire.
Was there electricity that ran to that?
There's electricity in the area. They have lights in the park, and so obviously they were fueled. But those sources were underground.
So do you think this is something that a person, like maybe it was a homeless person on the play area, or is there any indication that it could be by a human?
Well, we really want to be careful before suggesting that could be a possible cause, but we're looking at all options of how the fire
Can
started.
you talk about what was the main source of fuel for the fire? Was it like the mulch? Was it the actual structures? Like what was actually the thing burned?
Right, it was everything, and so that's why it produced so much heat, because we had different, from the mulch, from the different plastics and synthetic material that were involved in this fire. That is which caused such a large fire.
Do you know if it was wood mulch or was it rubber mulch or?
I don't know that.
You said it was very high BTUs. You got an estimate?
Because of some of the damage, and it's just an early assessment, we're talking about thousands of degrees because the way that it impacts some of the structure materials, some of the spalding that we saw from the concrete, and some of the early videos that we were able to take a look at. We're talking probably several thousand degrees.
Is this fully contained? Are you worried about any more spots?
Fire remains on scene, and so just in case we do have some fires that pop up here and there, we're positioned to be able to take care of that. But the fire has been extinguished.
What about the origin? What do you know about the origin? Like, about where did it start? Have you been able to determine that?
Well, we haven't been able to determine it. We've taken a lot of pictures. We have to take time so we can accurately assess that.
Hey guys, one more question.
I have a question for KYTC.
People trying to wrap their heads around, because the Brent Spence, the fire was on the bridge itself. This was 40 feet above. Can you explain how intense that has to be? Bend steel 40 feet above?
Well, Right, and it goes back to the question about the British thermal units, the amount of heat that was given off by this fire, and the fuel source. All those things contribute to that, and it's an open space which allows it to extend vertically much easier than it does in a structure fire. And so just because the fuel source was able to put out that much heat, that's why we saw a lot of the things that we saw from the footage.
Is this being considered suspicious at this time? Suspicious, Chief? Is this being considered suspicious?
No, again, what we're trying to do is trying to determine the cause, and we'll be able to, after we're able to assess all the information that we have, we'll be able to address how this fire actually started.
You haven't ruled that out, though, being suspicious.
Okay. Hey, thank you.
You haven't ruled that out yet, though, being suspicious.
We haven't ruled anything out. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me ask this question. I appreciate it. I know the immediate response you said, let's just push this back to 275, but we don't know what's going on here just yet. Is there any chance in days, if maybe the next week, to allow more local traffic, like if people need to get off in Fort Thomas, Southgate, maybe just the shopping plaza in Newport? Is that a possibility?
It's a possibility. It's something we'll evaluate as the inspections continue and as we learn more about the situation on the bridge.
Likely before this is complete.
I would suspect so. We'll continue to evaluate that. And like I said, we've got our social media engaged, our press releases, everything's engaged to let the public know as much information as possible.
Folks, that's it for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.